Today you're going to learn about the full story behind Spotify Camp Nou's 1.5 billion euro stadium revolution. I'm going to explain to you how FC Barcelona is turning one of the most iconic stadiums in football history into arguably the most advanced stadium on earth. Now, I've spent hours digging through sports bases, news articles, stadium databases, and official club documents to give you a full breakdown of what's changing, including the name, why it's changing in the first place, and whether it's worth the hype. This is so much more than just a renovation. It's a complete reimagining of what a stadium can be. This is way more than just about football. Okay, let's first start with the why. Why are they rebuilding? So for more than 60 years, Camp Nou has stood tall as a symbol of Barcelona's hopes and victories. Opened in 1957, Camp Nou has witnessed some of the most iconic moments in football history. From hosting the opening match of the 1982 World Cup, to Barcelona's own magical nights, like the incredible 6-1 remontada against PSG in 2017. And then there's the unforgettable brilliance of Lionel Messi, from his debut to record-breaking seasons to his emotional farewell. Camp Nou has been the stage for it all. But even great icons get old, and over time the signs were clear. Camp Nou wasn't falling behind in history or even size. It was falling behind on what it gave to the fans. See, while clubs across Europe were building brand new high-tech stadiums, Camp Nou kind of stayed stuck behind in another era. The rails were rusting, the seats were fading, the technology was outdated, and the club knew that it needed to give more back to its loyal fans. This wasn't just all about comfort. It was also because of survival. So only 5% of Camp Nou actually had VIP seating, which meant that its matchday revenue was way behind what rivals like Real Madrid or Manchester United were making. And speaking of Manchester United, I made another video about a controversial finding of the financing of their new stadium. And if you're in for a juicy deep dive, I think you're gonna like that video. Right, now back to Barcelona. Even with sold out games, the money just wasn't enough. And it was pretty clear that Barcelona needed to catch up or risk falling behind. Because also, at the same time, maintaining the old structure was getting more and more expensive. Basic upgrades like improved lighting, better acoustics, even better Wi-Fi was getting harder and harder to implement without a full redesign. Structural wear and safety concerns were also growing because some of these concrete sections hadn't been touched since the 80s. And now for the little intro into what the renovation project is. It's called Espai Barça, a grand vision. More than just a stadium overhaul, it was an entire transformation of the surrounding district. An integrated campus with new arenas, green spaces, shops, museums, and underground transport connections. But they didn't want to tear the old stadium down. So instead they made a bold choice. Keep the spirit of the stadium, but rebuild everything else. A brand new stadium right inside of the old one. And the reason they had to do all of this, it's because Camp Nou isn't simply surrounded by a neighborhood. No, it's woven into it. Les Corts is a densely packed district with homes, schools, and streets wrapped around the stadium like veins, meaning that demolition and rebuilding has made it one of the most complex urban challenges in European football history. So instead of sprawling out, engineers had to make do with the existing board. So how do you remove 73,000 cubic meters of concrete right in the middle of a busy neighborhood? So the plan looked simple on paper. Raise the number of seats from 99,000 to 105,000. Cover all of them with a huge retractable roof that can open and close. Add new VIP rings, put solar panels on top, build parking spaces underground, make everything new, but keep the stadium sold. But building it, that's a whole other story. Everything kicked off in mid-2023 when Barcelona played their last match in May. And that is when the machines moved in. First, they had to tear it down. They removed 73,500 cubic meters of concrete. That's enough to fill 45 Olympic-sized pools. They also took out 7,850,000 kilograms of steel. That is like lifting 1,300 elephants. But all of that steel was actually sorted and recycled, and the concrete was crushed on site, because half of this material was actually going into the new stadium. Pretty cool, right? So while all of this was happening, the team moved to Estadi Olympique Louis Companies. I hope I pronounced that right. So it's a smaller stadium with only 55,000 seats, but it kept the club's heart beating. The stadium was actually built for the 1992 Olympics, and it served as their temporary home. Meanwhile, back at Camp Nou, over 1,200 workers on site showing up every day, so you're having machines, workers, and materials all working together around the clock to get this thing built. Okay, now let's get into some of the key upgrades of the stadium. The roof was probably the biggest change. It's going to stretch over 47,000 square meters. For context, it's like covering 6 football fields, just on the roof. And it's made of strong steel cables, ETFE, and polycarbonate. The roof isn't just going to keep rain or sun off of every fan, and no, it does a little more than that. There's going to be solar panels on the roof, and these are going to be soaking up sunlight that powers the stadium's lights, screens, and even the water systems. The roof also collects rainwater, and anything that's saved is going to be used to water the pitch. Nothing wasted, everything reused. And wait till you hear about the acoustics on that. The new roof isn't just going to bounce off rain from the outside. On the inside, it's gonna bounce back sound. Every cheer and chant is gonna echo louder than ever before. Goals are gonna feel like mini earthquakes. Okay, now let's look at the bowl itself. It's not gonna be any more narrow and old hallways. No, they wanted this thing to be comfortable, so people don't have to queue so long. There's gonna be wide walkways, moving staircases, glass elevators, more bathrooms, we all need that, and smoother paths for fans to get into the stadium. The first tier of seats that they're rebuilding is gonna be at a steeper angle so that fans can actually see the game better. The second, that's where you're gonna find your press boxes, your VIP lounges, and special areas for families. The third tier, which is still under construction, is going to have even more VIP boxes, lavish restaurants, and a gigantic LED screen that wraps all the way around, so that wherever you're going to sit, the scores, the live replays, the live stats, all right in front of you. And every part of the stadium was built for everyone. There's going to be more space for wheelchair users, easy to read signs, guides that you can hear and see. Like, what an inclusive stadium. And this inclusivity isn't just limited to people, no, it stretches even to their technology. There's going to be Wi-Fi points placed all over, because we all know how difficult it is to get signal in crowded events. So this is really important. Great job, Barcelona. There's going to be LED boards on the roof that light up the sky during match nights. And even the way that fans were moving around, this was all planned using computer models. They used this technology called Building Information Modeling, or BIM for short. And this is actually a real-life example of how AI is being used in construction. And another note about the roof, there's also going to be a rooftop walkway on it. Fans are going to get to walk on that roof and have a view of all of Barcelona from there. Like I said, this is not just going to be a stadium. It's also going to be a tourist spot. Right, Spotify. Spotify is actually the next change in the stadium, which is the name change. Back in 2022, a big decision was made that actually shocked a lot of fans. The club gave the stadium a brand new name. It's now called Spotify Camp Nou. The 310 million euro deal helped to fund the 1.5 billion euro project. But of course, not everybody liked the change. If you're somebody who works in construction, you'll know that construction projects are almost never delivered on time. Same case here. So unsurprisingly, the club initially hoped to return to the stadium by the end of 2024, using 60% of its seats. By spring of 2025, only the first and second tiers were ready. And the third, it's still just steel and framed. And the VIP areas, they're a little bit too VIP that you can't even see them right now. So now they're saying that the full stadium won't open until late 2025 or potentially even 2026. The problem is that each month away from Camp Nou is costing the club significant losses in matchday revenue. Every delay adds pressure. But for a stadium that's meant to last 50 years, maybe it's worth the wait. Now, remember when I touched earlier about how this entire project is more than just a stadium renovation? Yes, the Espai Barça project also includes a new sports arena, a full city campus, and it is changing the entirety of the Les Corts neighborhood. They're turning old parking lots into new green spaces, the roads are getting wider, bike paths and new metro lines are on the way. So this is not going to be like a closed-off fortress. No, they're integrating it into everyday life. We're going to add 3,500 parking spaces underground. That's a lot of parking. And an additional 70 special zones for buses. The stadium is finally going to be able to match the crowd that it welcomes. So it's more than just a place to watch football. It's a smart, green, open stadium, a symbol, an icon, one that's worthy of the greats that have played in it. if you're interested in more construction deep dives, like I said, I made a video about Manchester United Stadium and also about how AI is being used in construction. Links to those videos on screen. And if I don't catch you in those videos, then I'll catch you in another one. Till then, thanks for watching.